Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Please remember to like and subscribe. Subscribe, triple underlining that subscribe. Help this podcast keep on growing. Today, I am wearing an Argentina shirt in tribute to not just Emi Martinez, of course, Enzo Baranachea on loan, but also to the fact that Emi Buendia has returned to Aston Villa life. He obviously got his first appearance against Everton the other day in the Premier League. But last night came on, showed a few really lovely touches, didn't he, against young boys? Those young boys, they were in tears. They had to be put to bed early last night because of what Buendia was doing to them in that last 5 minute cameo he was in. But look, he's looking sharp, isn't he? The couple of cameos he's had, playing against Fleetwood Town as well. Scored a couple against them. So yeah, it's all looking a bit positive. Really nice to have him back. Anyway, so how are we all feeling after the Champions League victory? It was amazing, right? What a feeling to feel like to watch Aston Villa and feel like we're a club that belongs in this competition. Uh, I know that young boys are not the best football team on the planet. They are in really bad form. They concede lots and lots of chances, and therefore they concede lots and lots of goals. But as they were reiterating on commentary last night, as much as they are bottom of the league in Switzerland, they haven't lost in 7 games, and they did knock Galatasaray out as well, with two really impressive performances: a 3-2 win at their stadium at the Wankdorf, don't laugh, and a 1-0 away win at Galatasaray, one of the most febrile atmospheres in world football, really. So no, it was they're a work in progress, I would say, with a new manager, but things have started badly there. I don't quite understand why they sacked the manager who won the league last season and brought in a manager whose team, Winterthur, who came fifth in the Swiss league last season, conceded 71 goals in the league. So, and the fact now they have the worst defense in the Swiss league makes you think, that's a bit odd. But look, young boys are not the best football team in the world, but they are a team with European pedigree. We found last season that when we go away from home, it can be a difficult challenge, particularly with teams that have been there and done it. We found that out at Olympiacos. We found it out against Lille, who were a very good side. Away at Ajax, we drew 0-0. We lost at Lechia Warsaw. We drew at Zielinski, Mostar. I think the only away win I can remember is AZ Alkmaar. So, um, I think hopefully all of those experiences have carried on into this season. We've taken it and hopefully we can build upon it. I'm sure it's helped, 100% sure it has. Um, but it's a brilliant start. It's great to just get that win immediately and for a few players to score goals in the Champions League as well. Jacob Ramsey now has a goal in the Champions League. He's a player that I think has an extremely high ceiling, and I'm going to talk about him a lot more in a second. Extremely high ceiling, and every now and again, I think you have a moment as a professional footballer where you have moments where I think you start to feel like you belong somewhere. Jacob Ramsey's first goal in the first team for Aston Villa, you could feel it was coming, and you felt that once it came, he could just go up a level. And that's exactly what happened. His first ever goal away against Arsenal, if you remember, in a game we lost 3-1. We were very poor that day, but his goal was fantastic. Top corner, and it had been threatening to come for a while. Once that came, he went and got a glut of, worldies, really. He tends to score really good goals. And then he got his goal last night in the Champions League. So now he's got a goal in the Champions League. So you start to think, again, the next step for him, I guess, is an England call-up, which I think he's definitely good enough for, as hard as the competition is for England. But no, I'll talk a bit more about Ramsey in a second because I'm going to rave about this guy. And otherwise, like I say, getting a win, it's something that Villa's players can build on and not just take into the rest of the Champions League, but into the league. Obviously, Bayern Munich is going to be a very, very difficult challenge. They won 9-2 last night. They're first in the league. We're second in the what looks like a Super League, suspiciously like a Super League. Aston Villa second. Exactly. We belong in first, of course, and that's where we'll go when we hammer Bayern 5-1. But look, I think the Bayern game, I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a couple of weeks. Yes, they are absolutely an amazing football team, and I think there will be some potentially harsh lessons for us that night. But at the same time, we play top football teams all the time, don't we? We beat Man City, we beat Arsenal twice last season. And Unai Emery got Villarreal past Bayern Munich a couple of years ago. Unai Emery's been there, done it in Europe. I have a feeling we'll approach this game as the one that knows they are the team that have all the European pedigree, and we might approach it a little bit like we did the Arsenal game recently, where we try and cut off their passing channels. We try and isolate some of their more attacking players. That's obviously really, really hard to do, particularly with players like Jamal Musiala. I mean, just one moment from players like that. Serge Gnabry with his speed as well, and that right back area we saw last night against Young Boys. I think it's going to be constant Diego Carlos until Matty Cash is fit now. That's just what I think is going to happen. But yes, it was but I'll talk a bit more about Bayern in a couple of weeks. Bottom line, great to get the win against Young Boys. We have 3 points in the Champions League. We've got to win. Brilliant. Don't need that hanging over us. We got it. Now, I'll take us off to our old trusty friend, the tactical pad. There it is. Well, so this was the team that I had lined up for Villa and Young Boys. Now, I don't quite understand why Lewin Bloom didn't play. Given everything I've researched about Young Boys, he was the one, along with Filip Ugrinic, who really stood out to me as players who would potentially cause Aston Villa problems. And Ugrinic played really well. Really good game, I thought. Lewin Bloom didn't even get on the pitch. Instead, they went with 19-year-old Athakame. So, okay, didn't get to see Lewin Bloom, a player that I'm actually quite intrigued to watch more of, because just all of his stats, everything about him looks like a lot goes through him for Young Boys. So I'd love to know what the reasoning was. Was he injured or something? I don't know. Athakame, 19 years of age. It was a big ask for him to come in against Aston Villa when it's our left-hand side that causes all of the problems. I thought it was basically a coin flip between Cedric Itten, who did get on later in the game, and Ganvula. Itten has played a bit more this season than Ganvula, but Ganvula scored more goals. So Ganvula came in, and I thought, big physical presence. I thought Aston Villa dealt with him very well. I think Pau Torres dealt with him very well, won the aerial duels he had to win, which was really nice. And as for Aston Villa, I thought the right-hand side was where it was quite difficult to call. I wondered if he might go with Nedeljkovic, but nope. He ain't going Nedeljkovic at the moment. He's going Lamar Bogard. So that was who came in on the right-hand side. And then Leon Bailey didn't take the risk, didn't need to. So I did wonder if Bailey would be an impact sub rather. I think if Villa were desperately looking for a goal, he might have come on, but didn't need to risk him last night. And to be honest, it's getting harder and harder to not start Jacob Ramsey. The man is just too bloody good. Aston Villa have Jacob Ramsey, 22, Morgan Rogers, 22, and Jhon Durán, 20. They're three of the best young players in world football. They're absolutely fantastic football players. And I think there's levels these guys can get to that are scary. Scary. Anyway, so that was the lineup. And I think if you were to look at where the most dangerous area was in the first 25 minutes, it's here. Coley, skillful guy, cut inside a couple of times, took that shot that hit the top of the net. Beat Bogard physically a couple of times. I think Bogard's positioning was fine. It was just physically, Coley just got the better of him. And a couple of times Bogard lunging in fouls. One wasn't a foul. He won the ball. In the Premier League, that's never a foul. But, it's in Europe. You see them given, as they would say. And I think he just, there was a throw in. He took them, went straight to a Young Boys player. It just looked very uncomfortable. And there was a period of time there where he was giving away fouls that were leading to free kicks. He was getting targeted by Ugrinic and Coley. And I think it was very obvious that I think Bogard has to come off. But fortunately, when Villa scored, after that for a 20-minute spell, I think Young Boys were causing us problems. And it was crucial we didn't concede. Once Villa scored, Villa took control of the game. I think Bogard, therefore, was a bit protected by that. And I think he himself grew into the game along with that. But it just felt a bit like I could see Unai Emery's reasoning for taking him off at halftime and basically probably looking ahead to the weekend and thinking, I need Diego Carlos to get minutes because I think he's going to start Ezri Konsa, particularly when you've got Ait Nouri coming down that side for Wolves. And they've got a couple of attacking players who can get down that side as well. I'm not sure he's going to want to risk any young players out there now. They just look, I'm not saying they look a liability, but they just look a bit, they look beatable. They look like an area that if you're the opposition, that's where you target. And so I just think having Conster and Carlos there against Wolves, Villa will just be a more solid back line. I want Bogart and Nedeljkovic, particularly Nedeljkovic. I'm quite gutted he hasn't played really in the last couple of games because I think he's going to be competing with Matty Cash. I think he's that good, raw material wise. Everything about him, and I suspect it's that he came on against Arsenal, did a really good job against Martinelli, got taught a bit of a lesson by Trossard on one or two occasions, but no, I don't think he did that badly, really. Um, maybe he was away with Serbia for 2 weeks. Bogart was at Villa training for 2 weeks, so maybe Unai Emery sees Bogart as that option who can play as that centre back who, if he's there alongside Konsa and Torres, it means that the left back, a Matson or a Dean, can get forward, bombing forward like that, and then Bogart or Konsa comes across into a back three. I think Nedeljkovic can do that. He's got the height and physicality for it. I just wonder, is there something about Nedeljkovic at the moment that Emery thinks tactically he's not quite attuned to Villa? And there are occasions, obviously, he loves to burst forward, doesn't he, Nedeljkovic? He loves to overlap. We saw it all in preseason. We've seen it for Serbia. We've seen it all in a Red Star. Maybe he feels against Arsenal the one or two occasions he tried to do that at the wrong occasion, maybe. And maybe he just wants to train with him more, embed him in sort of the Carabao Cup, and maybe coming on for 15 minutes in games rather than starting him just yet. Maybe there's just work he wants to do with him. But I really, really, I've been saying it for a while. I'm very excited about Nedeljkovic, and I hope he gets a fair amount of game time soon enough. But anyway, it was out on the left-hand side, wasn't it, that Coley was causing problems. But once Villa got that goal, Austin McPhee, a bloody wizard, unbelievable Villa were. They just took control, and it really was men against young boys, wasn't it? Now, who were the main men? Well, if you look at the passing map, I think that's always quite a good indication of what was happening. You look at it, and the number 8, Youri Tielemans, right there in the middle. You can see once again, with the thick lines that are between him, he was the main source of passing interactions last night. And I think once again, he was Aston Villa's main man. I raved about him after the Everton game when he got the record this season for most passes completed, I think, in the league. And again, last night, it all goes for him. He does everything. He receives passes. He makes things happen from deep. He makes things happen by carrying the ball forward. The third Onana goal, that was all from Youri Tielemans progressing forward with the ball, and progressive carry, essentially, taking it to the young boys' final third, turning and getting the ball to Onana, who then hit an absolute rocket of a goal. Fantastic. But again, it's all about it's all about Tielemans. All roads lead to Tielemans. I think so far in the Premier League, Erling Haaland's been player of the season. You have to give it to him for all the goal he scored. I think Tielemans might be just behind him. I think he's been that good. But otherwise, the most common passing channel actually was between the 41 and the 12. 41 being Jacob Ramsey, and number 12, Luca Dean. Luca Dean continues to be very, very involved in an attacking sense for Villa. They exchanged 20 passes, which was one more than what Ramsey and Tielemans did with 19. So I think this passing map is not just indicating the number 8, Tielemans is so involved, of course, again, but it's also showing you how involved Jacob Ramsey was with interchanges with Tielemans, with the 12, Luca Dean, but also the number 27, Morgan Rogers, and also, as you can see, Onana as well. So Jacob Ramsey. He is one of our own. And if I could draw a love heart for his performance last night, I will. I think Tielemans gets man of the match overall. I'll draw another love heart there. Just there. There you go. That's for you, Jacob Ramsey. There you go. Feel those hearts. There they are. Ramsey. I think Tielemans gets that man of the match, but when I looked at the stats, they told me everything I thought I saw with my eyes. I thought the three players that caught my eye the most were Tielemans, Rodgers, and Ramsey. I thought down that left-hand side they just caused havoc for young boys once Villa adapted to the pitch after about 15th to 20th minute. Now, Ramsey, let me just throw a few stats at you. Took the most shots and he had the most on target. Three shots, three on target. Best in the team. He had 52 touches, by far one of the most involved players in the game. That's even more than Pau Torres on 50. And you kind of think defenders tend to touch the ball a bit more, don't they? Because they're sort of the keeper rolls it out to them. They can see the rest of the pitch. They can, they're always an outlet for a fullback to pass back to them or a midfielder to lay it back for them. Triangles. The defenders pass it between each other quite a lot. So the fact that Pau Torres was on 50 and Ramsey was on 52, and given the fact that Pau Torres is such a big part of Aston Villa's build-up, I think that says a lot about how involved Jacob Ramsey was. Who had the most touches? Well, you guessed it, Youri Tielemans, 67. Now, Jacob Ramsey also achieved one block, so he was involved defensively as well. Only other player to do that, Pau Torres, only other block. And you know what? This is the one that caught my eye the most. Jacob Ramsey attempted 43 passes and completed 41. He had a 95% pass completion rate. Players like that who try to make things happen tend to not have the highest pass completion rates going. That is really, really good. You're in the attacking third a lot. You've got a defensive midfielder or you've got a centre back coming onto you. You're trying to make things happen. The fact that he had a 95% pass completion rate in that position that he was in, trying to make things happen with 9 progressive passes and receiving 6 progressive passes, I think that is an outstanding display from Jacob Ramsey. Outstanding. He had 3 progressive carries. The only person ahead of him with that, Morgan Rodgers, as you could have guessed, just from the eye test, with 5. Progressive carries terminology, it's basically taking the ball beyond opposition players in the opponent's half, really. It's kind of a way of describing it, I guess. So it's showing a player trying to make things happen. And you can see why Rodgers and Ramsey are those two players, because they are effectively two players who like to turn and run and go at a team, aren't they? And as I said earlier, most common passes exchanged were between Luca Dean and Jacob Ramsey on 20. Ramsey there, Luca Dean kind of that position. That was kind of the way it looked, wasn't it, really? So, love heart territory there for Jacob Ramsey. He's one of our own. He got a goal, of course, as well, didn't he? And also, he was robbed of an assist for Jhon Durán's goal. Jhon Durán. Well, what can you say, really? I've said it before on the show that I have it on good authority that he is seen within scouting circles as potentially one of, if not the best striker in the world, or he has the raw ingredients to become that. Erling Haaland is the best striker in the world. I'd say closely followed by Harry Kane, and you could argue Harry Kane is actually at his level, all-rounded wise. Kane is absolutely amazing. So you'd say Kane and Haaland are the two best in the world, but Jhon Durán is 10 years younger than Harry Kane. He's about the same age as Haaland. Haaland's a freak, right? Jhon Durán is a player who's growing, and you've seen multiple signs this season of how he has improved. Now, the goal he got against West Ham, the positioning, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And a great first-time finish, right? An assist from, you guessed it, Jacob Ramsey. I'm just going to put Jhon Durán in there just so we all can have a look at him. The goal against Leicester. He pushes off the Leicester defender, gets a couple of yards, ranges his neck, arches his neck, and heads it. That skill to pull that off was superb. 2 great finishes. And then against Everton, with about a 0.02 expected goal rate. He goes and scores an absolute historically good goal. Every single person will remember that goal for the rest of their lives. If you were there, get a shirt that says I was there. Because Jordan Pickford's still probably lying on the Villa Park pitch looking up at the sky, wondering what the hell happened in stunned silence. Sean Dyche's trying to pick him up. Get out, mate. Got another game to play this weekend. It was absolutely amazing. And it was a Roberto Carlos type finish, where he hits it. And when he hits it, he hits it with his left foot and his right leg sort of comes up, sort of arches up to the right. And incredible finish. And then last night, that finish, I know it was a disallowed goal. I cannot tell you enough how impossibly hard it is to finish a shot like that. I'm not sure Ollie Watkins finishes that. Watkins is a brilliant striker. Watkins is the main man, right? And he was robbed of a goal last night. But that finish was astonishingly good. The speed at which Jacob Ramsey hit that ball into him, I think 99% of people on the planet would just sky that over the bar, or you would probably lift it when you hit it, connect with it, and it hits the post or something, or it's at a height the keeper can save it. For him to keep that on the floor at that speed, with that curvature on it, and to plant it in the bottom corner of the net from outside the area or the edge of the area, I can't express enough how good that goal was. Technically, amazing. Again, positioning. He knew exactly where he wanted to be. Him and Ramsey clearly have a very good understanding because it was similar positioning to the West Ham goal at the start of the season. And the goal against Everton reminded me of a Roberto Carlos finish. The goal from Jhon Durán last night reminded me of Lionel Messi. That's how good a finish. I say that sitting here in an Argentina shirt. It was a Lionel Messi finish. And you know the exact goal it reminded me of when I saw it? That famous goal Lionel Messi scored at the Bernabeu when Barcelona won 3-2 in the last minute. And Messi came onto a ball that came across from, I think it was Jordi Alba. Similar position to Jacob Ramsey, puts it across. And same thing as Jhon Durán, as Lionel Messi. The two of them sort of coming from deep and coming to the edge of the area, waiting for their moment, waiting for the exact moment, find a bit of space, come onto the end of it, and first time, left-footed, curved finish into the bottom corner. And a really similar whipped finish to Lionel Messi. Really similar goals. And I think an equal level of skill to do that. To do something that Lionel Messi did throughout his career, that was a very messy goal. I just really wanted to hype that goal up because I think it was amazing. And I think it shows we've seen the two goals. Well, the goal he scored against Liverpool, if you forget the second one he scored against Liverpool off the knee. The first one he scored from the edge of the area. The three goals he scored this season, and the one that was disallowed last night. I think we're seeing the emergence potentially of an extraordinary talent. Obviously, we know that there have been issues off the pitch, but from the words coming out from the likes of Amadou Onana, John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey about Duran and how he's returned to the team this season, how his attitude seems to be better, how he's been training really well. If that attitude off the pitch is what's leading now to this on the pitch where he's scoring these types of goals, he's more involved, like the pass he made to Ramsey to start off the move that led to the disallowed goal. It was a great ball he put across. You got to look at it and think, well, we might be seeing the emergence of a very, very special player indeed. And I think we're seeing the emergence of three very special players at Villa at the moment in Ramsey, Rodgers, and Duran. I think they all have different skill sets. Rodgers, you can hear it from, Rio Ferdinand and Jamie Carragher in the last two games. Morgan Rodgers was my tip before the season started to be the player that's the breakout one in the Premier League, the one where Villa fans, we know how good he is, but it becomes a little bit like when Jack Grealish was in Villa and other opposition fans started to realise just how brilliant he was. And I think that was my tip before the season started, that Morgan Rogers was going to do that this season. He's already done it. He's just playing against Arsenal, carrying the ball, beating a man, bullying players like Rice and Partey, doing the same at times against Everton. His movement was really clever. His touches were really good. And now what he did against young boys as well. Incredibly effective. And I think that once he gets his first goal this season, that's the only thing he hasn't done, get a goal or an assist. Once he gets that goal, again, I think he might end up just being a bit unstoppable. All of them are young, so all of them will have a patch of form probably where they're not fully at it. And people start to go, do you remember when that idiot Frankie was talking rubbish and overhyping on the podcast? Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to apologise for being really excited about some really, really talented football players at Aston Villa, who are really, really special players. And we should be really, really excited about what we're seeing. Anyway, I thought I'd do a little, stop that share. I thought I'd do a little tactical round of just a few data points in there, just that I just found quite interesting. Maybe you will as well. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll think this guy's should just shut the hell up. But I won't. I just love football. I love talking about it. I find it such an interesting game, the different ways you can play it, and to be an Aston Villa fan right now, my first ever game was 1992, where I went to see us lose 3-2 against Norwich, first Premier League season. And I feel like my entire life has been building up towards watching us in the Champions League. There were periods of time where I thought it might happen. And then there was a long, long, long period of time where I wondered if Aston Villa were going to go the way of Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough, or Derby County or Forest until recently. Just teams that, big names, big histories that just fell away and couldn't come back. The fact that we've come back from the lowest of lows so recently and risen back so rapidly up the league into the Champions League itself, and then got a win last night in our return, first game since '83, on the week that Gary Shaw passed away as well, an absolute Villa legend who I only ever heard good things about, and I did meet, and he was an absolutely incredible personality, really funny, just a fun person, big personality, and local legend, like for one of our own to be so key and important. And so many of my family loved the guy, and my uncle was obviously there, Jhon Durán, at the same time as Gary Shaw as well, and I'm sure they were close as well. So yeah, all thoughts with Gary Shaw's family and all that as well. But as I was saying, for Aston Villa to have had that moment last night, whatever happens going forward, at least we're here, at least we got to experience it, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. Please like and subscribe. Please comment. Let me know what you think. Up the mighty Villa.